G'day and welcome back to Australia's greatest classic mini YouTube channel, Tomo's Tune-Ups. On this episode, I'm going to show you how to install a ball joint to a classic mini. So in this video specifically, I'm going to show you how to install these upper and lower ball joints to a classic mini in under 10 minutes. The reason why I'm doing this in under 10 minutes is every video I've seen out there is greater than 20 minutes long, some even going for 30 minutes, explaining how to fit these little suckers to a car. You can see in the previous video that I've listed above of installing a brake disc conversion kit to a classic mini. I did touch on the subject quite briefly, but I'm going to explain the correct procedure in how to fit these. So here's one I prepared earlier. This is another brake disc conversion kit that I'm doing for the 1275 A+ build that I've been building for the last couple of months. So as you can see, this is brand new. It is nice and clean. First thing you want to do is take off the hub assembly, which is this part right here from the vehicle. You don't need to take the drum off. You don't need to remove the caliper. It is entirely up to you how you go about it. First step you need to do is remove everything, clean it so it is nice and clean on the inside before we get started. All right, so next thing you need to do is get yourself a workbench or a vise to be able to get this stuff working properly. So what we need to do to begin with is in the kit, you'll have an upper and lower ball joint, plus you'll have a couple little components. So we'll have two of these little cups just here. We're gonna put those to the side. All right, so in the bag, we're gonna have a couple of different things. We're gonna have a heap of different thickness shims. You can go ahead and measure those with a set of verniers. That will become important quite shortly. So stick those to the side, nice and safe. These are the lock tabs. This is what locks it to the ball joint to the hub to prevent it from moving. Also, we have a new spring, which as I said before, goes on the bottom of the ball joint. There are also two grease nipples. One will go on either side of the ball joint, one at the top, one at the bottom. Now, the ball joint, we have a couple of things here. So we have a nut, a spring washer, and a rubber boot, along with the ball joint itself, the arm, and the ball and socket over here. So what we're going to do is take it off to begin with, right from the very end. We are going to fit the cup inside there, just like that. So the concave end is facing upwards, that way that can sit directly in there just like that. You are going to tighten it up by finger. Once it decides to grab, we can then tighten it up. All right, so what you want to be doing here is having everything nice and clean, and you want to be tightening the nut up until there is no lateral movement, or shall I say vertical movement, so meaning up and down, just like this. What you want is this arm to not be too stiff to move, but also you don't want to be able to flop around like a frog in a sock. So you're just going to nip that up just a little bit. You want it to be stiff, but not too stiff where you can't move it, nor is it going to be super loose. So that's pretty much where we need it to be. Give it another twist. Perfect. So now that that is facing upwards, what we need to do is measure the gap between the hub and the ball joint itself. What we need to do, once we have that measurement, we then need to subtract 0.9 of a millimeter, whatever that works out to be, which I'm sure I would have done in the section just down below, in inches or however you measure things. Now we need to subtract that from this measurement, and that will give us the amount of thickness shims we need between the lock tab and the nut itself. Grab your feeler gauges and start working your way back from the thickest one. All right, second time lucky, that's good. So this one, it comes to 1.73 millimeters. So we need to deduct 0.9 from 1.7, so that gives us 0.8. So we need 0.8 of thickness shim to be able to go between here and here. Now, like I said, these are all different size thickness shims. You will need to possibly buy more depending if you need any more thickness shims or not. The easiest way to measure these is either with verniers or a set of micrometers. So once that's on there, next step is to remove the nut. We're going to put the lock tab on. Grab the new grease nipple. Now we don't want to be tightening this up all the way, we just want to be nipping it up just a little bit, that way it helps centralize the lock tab. There we go. Now we're going to stick this back on and just get a bit of an idea as to how thick it is. I got caught out when I did the other side that it was too tight. All right, so as you can see, I've got this nut on there with the arm in there at the moment with the ball joint. Now, I did find when I did the other one earlier on today that when I put the shims in, it was still far too loose. So what I'm going to do here is torque it up, see what it comes down at. All right, so grab the shims once you've measured them, put it on. All right, so we've got all the lock tabs bent over other than this one. I might just get a pair of multi grips on there and just squeeze those together. All right, so without removing the disc, that's as much as I've pushed in. So that's more than enough than what we need. Next step is to go and tighten up the grease nipple. All right, I just used a 8mm deep quarter drive socket. We're just gonna nip this up. That's it. Then we're gonna get the grease gun, fill it full of grease before we then start the reassembly process. Right, so just grab your grease gun, stick it on there, make sure she's on there firm, give it a couple of good squeezes. Now you will just need to move it around a little bit to get the grease through there. So just give it a couple of good squeezes as you rotate the ball joint. Remember, grease will need to move all the way around through the ball joint, so anything that doesn't get greased at the moment will get greased once it's moving inside the car. All right, take it out of the vise. Clean up any excess grease, that way it doesn't contaminate the disc. Grab the boot, slide that on, followed by the washer, and then the nut. Oh yeah, last but not least, the bottom is done the exact same method, except you just got to make sure that you fit the spring in there before you go any further. And that is how you replace a ball joint on a classic Mini. I hope you guys liked the video. There is plenty more stuff to come on the 1275 A+ engine. If you haven't already seen it, check it out in the link in the description above, and we'll see you right here on another episode of Tomo's Tune-Ups. All right, let's get this done.